Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, today I have Bejal Patel on the line, and he is the managing partner over at Arthur Lawrence. Bejal, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. So we're going to get into the future of work and really contingent labor and AI's growing impact. So AI is a hot topic right now, how it's going to affect the labor force and what that looks like for everyone. So I'm excited about this topic. But before we get into that, maybe just give us a little bit of an overview of what you're doing over at Arthur Lawrence.
Sure. So thanks, Adam, for the introduction. So I'm the managing partner here at Arthur Lawrence. We have 4 different business units. I manage the talent acquisition practice, and we are basically everything that has to do with talent, whether it is talent management, whether it is recruiting process outsourcing, whether it is contingent labor, direct recruitment, executive recruitment. If you have a problem with talent, we can probably help you find a solution to it.
How'd you get into that business? When did that start for you?
It started many decades ago, and really I got into the business because I was one of the individuals that recruiting firms used to call me for jobs. And I was on the techie
I love
side.
that. Hold on. So you're like, wait a minute. Go ahead. That's a great story.
Yeah. So I was on the techie side, and a recruiter had approached me about a job opportunity. I was increasingly intrigued on the business of recruiting because of the number of calls I would receive back when I was a techie. And it was one of those things where I went into a firm for an interview and ended up creating a database of tracking system for them. And from there, I learned the business from the CEO, and he taught me everything I knew, and it was the rest is history. Then it was startup after startup.
Wow. What's one of the things that attracts you to this industry, specifically like talent, recruiting, management? Like, what attracts you to that?
You know, it's something that you probably don't hear much of. Back then, there was no AI, so I'm going to call it the human intelligence piece.
Yeah.
The actual interaction with people, the understanding of how what I do is going to impact someone's life and improve someone's life. And in fact, today we've evolved that into our tagline. You know, our mission at Arthur Lawrence is to improve lives. That's what we say we do. And so that impact comes from a very immigrant myself, and over the years I've seen sort of the struggle that my parents went through, whether it was finding a job or being in a job, and understanding how to grow within their careers. I've learned the navigation of that process, and I feel like I can really impart that knowledge on anybody that comes to our firm, and whether it's a client or a candidate, and help guide them through that process.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think about that whole niche in industry. I was on that side of, you know, getting calls from recruiters and otherwise, and I always found it just fascinating. Some of the best people I met, and I feel like it's such an intimate relationship to be able to work with individuals when they're in a transition, or even if they're not looking to transition, and, you know, there's an opportunity or something. Like, I built some relationships with some people over some long periods of time that they were important, and what I really enjoyed about some of those relationships too is that they were like my pulse on the market. Like, I knew what was going on because of them. It was something that was just invaluable. Like, a website wasn't going to do that. Like, just going to a website and saying, oh, like this or that. Like, yeah, maybe, right? But it was kind of like I always felt like I had the inside track there.
Yes, absolutely.
So looking at what's going on right now, let's get into the concept a little bit further. So first off, maybe it'll be helpful to define what contingent labor is. Let's maybe start there, and why it's being adopted in today's workforce.
So for a simpler term, it's augmenting your staff with temporary labor, mercenary, expert in a certain area, just to come in and plug a hole, fill that hole, and then move on to the next challenge that individual may have, right? So it's pay as you go. There's no, hey, I'm bringing this person in and there's going to be a deliverable behind it. Within the contingent workforce, there's lots of different ways to go about doing it, but in the manner in which I think most companies use that contingent workforce today, it is managed by the client, the person they're serving. It is managed by that. It's not managed by the employer of record.
Can you give maybe a use case example? You don't have to, name drop a client or anything like that, but maybe take us a little bit further. Give us a use case or two, please.
Sure. So, for example, if a company is implementing a new software or a new application to manage their HR or finances or whatever it may be, their team currently might be engaged on maintaining what they have today that manages that, manages the HR or manages the financial area of their organization. A contingent workforce can come in and say, well, while you keep your lights on, we'll go ahead and implement this, and then we'll train your folks on the new system, and then your folks will come off of that old system and get onto the new system, and then we'll leave. And then in some cases, a lot of companies like who they have in that temporary situation. They'll say, hey, would you be interested in staying on for a while or becoming part of our organization because you have a lot of knowledge? So these pluses and minuses of this type of labor, the nice thing is it's almost like a spigot on and spigot off. When you need somebody and you have a specific need of a specific skill, of a specific talent, you can turn that spigot on. That person's there for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 3 months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever it may be. But once they're done, and once they've plugged that hole or once they've implemented that new system, they're going to go ahead and train your staff on whatever that new system is, and then they'll exit and they'll go to their next project or next phase of project.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to that, right? So first off, if you're thinking about like you're not thinking of like a long-term hire, maybe these are longer projects too, like what would a timeline be? And maybe it's a year, 2 years, or I don't know, like, or shorter term, what does that look like maybe?
Yeah. So we see a lot of our clients come to us for a short period of even 8 weeks.
Oh,
right?
wow.
And
okay.
then we have clients come to us. Our average tenure probably for one of our workers is probably somewhere in the range of about 22 to 26 months. So because typically when these companies find somebody who is an expert at a very specific niche skill, as an employee, they don't have the luxury of just doing that one little task. As an employee, you're asked to attend this meeting, you're asked to be a part of this committee, you're asked to make sure that you provide this particular feedback and do this and that. And so an employee's 8 hours may be stretched in 15 different directions.
Yeah.
The consultant, contractor coming in, a staff contingent labor resource coming in, is only doing that one task really that they're focused on. And so they have a core concentration of that 8 hours, and that's all they're doing. So the productivity, the quality of work that happens in that time frame really is exponentially high.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And if you think about it, like, so it takes off, and I'm not saying this is it's just efficient. Am I off on that too? It can be pretty efficient.
Yes, absolutely. And first of all, it's a huge industry in itself. This contingent workforce labor is a huge industry in itself. It's evolving. It's over the course of 20 years, it's really evolved from just providing a resource to do task A to actually a situation where somebody can come in and actually do an entire process for you, an entire program for you. And companies are left with the opportunities to keep their staff focused on making sure they're doing what they need to do to keep the lights on and keep the bills paid, so to say, while they've got this external workforce coming in and really executing efficiently in a timely manner, this new technology or new system or process or whatever it may be that needs to happen in that particular situation.
Yeah. And how does AI play into all of this stuff? Like, actually, from your vantage point, you're working in labor in general as well. So over and above just this one piece. So, like, how are you seeing AI play a role, whether it's this type of workforce or just in general? What are you seeing?
Yeah. So I think one of the key things that we're noticing is, right, it's not AI is replacing me as a worker. I think it's more of a, how do we collaborate with AI, right? I think in a lot of different labor categories, a lot of different roles, whether it's a software engineer or whether it's somebody who is a financial analyst, it's inevitable that this new era of AI is very predominantly going to be involved in making sure those roles evolve. And what's important to remember here, I think, is that this is going to be a collaborative effort. There's still a need for human intelligence, whether you're doing software engineering or whether you're doing a financial analysis work or whether you're a physician or a nurse or there's whatever career you're doing. It's definitely going to be a bulk of work that's going to be handled by an AI mechanism, but there's going to be that complement and the collaboration that has to happen. It has to be driven to a certain directive. AI in general it's programmed to win. And when you're in a situation where when I say win, it's autonomous in how it views a win. It doesn't matter if it wins by, 0.5 seconds of doing the job better. The only thing that knows is that you're supposed to win. So get the job done. And so I think a big part of this, how it's going to really affect this whole labor market and whether it's contingent labor or whatever it may be, it's making sure that people understand that it's going to be a collaborative effort. It's a collaboration. It's not really I'm competing against this. I'm really need to understand that big picture of being able to collaborate with the whole aspect of AI.
Yeah, I can see that. And I think one of the interesting things about this is just I feel like it's gonna bring more opportunity. That's the thing. Like there's more opportunity. The different markets can open. Sure, some jobs or some things that maybe we did one way at one point aren't going to be the same, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to still be opportunity out there for others. And for those that are willing to embrace it a little bit and just be a little open-minded with some of it and just understand that a certain piece of this, I mean, I shouldn't generalize, say nobody likes change, right? But it's happening. So it's better, in my opinion, in this case, to get on the boat and to go in that direction and to figure things out versus to kind of try and fight it, because it's a hard trend to fight. Like it's everywhere now, and it's not going to go away. Put it that way. So use it to your advantage is the way I see it.
Absolutely. And I think there is that human aspect of it, right? There's going to be scenarios. And if we give a perfect example, like a surgeon versus a nurse, I'll just throw this out here that there's very finite things a surgeon is doing in a surgery that doesn't require human intelligence, right? Or human emotion. Whereas a nurse, her functions, his functions are very human in nature. And require more empathy. They require maybe more bedside manner. The surgeon doesn't require that. The surgeon, it's a finite thing to fix a specific thing while the person's under, perhaps, right? And so, this is where a nurse comes in, and you really can't replace that human intelligence of a nurse or human emotion of a nurse around that.
Yeah. Well, Bejal, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show today and getting to know more about your work. I've really enjoyed our conversation. That being said, if somebody's listening or watching this and if they want to learn more about Arthur Lawrence, how do they do that?
Sure. A great place to start is actually our website. It's www.arthurlawrence.net. And that would be a great place to start. I'm on LinkedIn myself. You can find me at Bejal Patel at Arthur Lawrence. If you just type that into your LinkedIn search, you can find me there. And we're all over social media in terms of Instagram, Facebook. So certainly find us on any of those social media platforms as well.
Perfect. And for everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. Bejal, thanks again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it, sir.